silver.
Silver ended up beating all major asset classes. The S&P 500, the Nasdaq, gold, even Bitcoin. Silver gave higher returns than every other major investment.
Okay, I stumbled across something fascinating while researching India's financial policies. It involves a metal that's been sitting quietly in people's homes for generations, almost invisible in economic terms. Not gold, silver.
Silver is in the middle of a historic rally. The rally started in 2025 and the momentum has continued in the new year. On the first trading day of 2026, silver rose by 3%. It is now trading at around $74 per ounce. 1 ounce is roughly 30 grams. In 2025, silver surged by nearly 150%. In 2025, silver surged by nearly 150%.
India has just changed the rules around silver in a way that could quietly ripple through the global financial system. India holds an estimated 25,000 tons of household silver, more than most countries' entire strategic reserves. But until recently, if you were a farmer in rural Maharashtra or a small business owner in Uttar Pradesh, that silver was just there. Valuable, yes, but financially inert. Now the Indian government has made 2 policy moves that are changing that reality. On paper, they look like routine regulatory tweaks. In practice, their implications are far bigger. First, the Reserve Bank of India issued a framework allowing banks to accept physical silver as collateral for loans. Not just gold anymore, silver. The rules are precise. Up to 10 kilograms per borrower, loan-to-value ratios of around 85%, and banks are required to return the silver promptly once the loan is repaid. It closely mirrors India's long-established gold loan system, but this marks silver's formal entry into the banking ecosystem. Almost simultaneously, India slashed silver import duties from 15% to 6%, a dramatic cut. And the timing wasn't accidental.
India remonetizes silver, BRICS to follow.
This is incredibly significant. It's happened really quietly, but the Reserve Bank of India, so the Indian Central Bank, has passed legislation that from the next financial year, which for them starts on the 1st of April, citizens can use silver, household silver, as collateral for loans. So they can deposit up to 10 kilos of silver, and the banks can then lend up to 85% of that value. Once the loan is repaid, the silver has to be returned within a week. So that prevents corruption, it prevents, over rehypothecation of the metals, and it really sets up an entire layer of liquidity. I shouldn't say global liquidity just yet.
To understand why this matters, you need to understand who holds silver in India and why. Silver ownership is concentrated among rural households, informal sector workers, and middle-income families, people who are often asset-rich but income-constrained. They may own land, silver, even gold, but they lack formal income documentation or credit histories that banks typically require. As a result, many turn to informal lenders, and informal lending in India is enormous. Estimates suggest that 30 to 40% of rural credit still comes from money lenders charging interest rates that can reach 36%, 50%, sometimes even higher. By allowing silver to be used as collateral, India has unlocked a vast pool of dormant household assets. Assets that were doing nothing financially are now usable for formal, lower-cost credit. Economists call this balance sheet mobilization, giving financial utility to what people already own without forcing them to sell it. There's another layer that makes this policy even more interesting. At the same time these changes were rolled out, India's silver imports surged sharply in early 2025. This isn't just about jewelry or investment demand, it's industrial. India is scaling up green energy and advanced infrastructure at a massive pace. Solar panels, electric vehicles, power grids, 5G networks, all of these rely heavily on silver. Industry already accounts for nearly 60% of global silver consumption, and solar photovoltaic demand alone is projected to double by 2030. India needs silver, a lot of it. Here's where the policy becomes clever. Recycled silver supply in India has been declining as households hold on to their metal rather than selling it back to jewelers. That tightens supply. But if silver can be used as collateral, households can access liquidity without selling. The metal stays within the financial system, where banks can eventually help channel supply towards industrial needs. Some commentators have called this silver remonetization, especially in discussions around de-dollarization and the future of global finance. Technically, that's not accurate. Silver is not backing the rupee. It's not legal tender. You can't pay taxes with it. India remains firmly on a fiat currency system. But the reason people are paying attention is the broader context. India is part of BRICS, a bloc that has openly discussed alternatives to dollar-denominated trade, commodity-linked reserves, and greater use of local currencies. There's no official link between India's silver policy and any coordinated BRICS strategy. But the optics matter. India is giving a precious metal formal financial infrastructure. If other countries with large household silver holdings, Indonesia, Brazil, Mexico, Nigeria, adopt similar frameworks, you begin to see the outlines of a parallel system where physical commodities gain institutional legitimacy alongside fiat money. There are real risks. Silver prices are volatile, far more volatile than gold. Banks will need robust systems for purity verification, secure storage, and price risk management. Scaling this across rural banking networks won't be easy. There are also consumer protection concerns. For many families, silver is a generational asset. If a borrower defaults, that asset is gone. Transparency, fair lending practices, and financial literacy will be essential. In narrow policy terms, India has simply expanded the collateral base for secured lending. It's a financial inclusion measure aimed at mobilizing underused assets and extending credit to underbanked populations. But in strategic terms, it's a signal that India is thinking about how to leverage non-financial household assets, how to reduce over-reliance on dollar-centric systems, how to build financial infrastructure rooted in tangible value. Zoom out further, and the question becomes bigger. What happens when countries start treating commodities not just as trade goods, but as financial infrastructure? Dollar dominance isn't just about economic size or military power. It's about trust, liquidity, and institutional depth. But what if countries start building optional systems, not to replace the dollar overnight, but to create alternatives? That's what makes India's move interesting. It's quiet, technical, non-ideological, but it could be the first brick in a different kind of financial architecture. Is India's silver policy going to crash the dollar? No. Is it going to reshape global finance overnight? Also no. But is it a sign of how countries are starting to think differently about money, assets, and financial sovereignty in a multipolar world? Absolutely. And the most important part is this: if it works, others will copy it. Not because of ideology, but because it makes financial sense. The global financial system is changing through quiet policy shifts that rarely make headlines. If you want to understand these changes before everyone else is talking about them, subscribe to Periscope. We break down the signals, the strategy, and the systems shaping the future of money, one policy at a time.